Growing up as a Korean American child, I've never been open to try new foods other than standard American foods such as hamburgers, fries, and hot dogs. I was always reluctant to try out foods from my own culture because it consisted of completely different kinds of foods that are made up of things that I never even heard of before. I grew too comfortable and used to the meals that I ate in America and decided not to branch out to foods from different cultures as I grew up. It wasn't until the summer of 2013 that I went on a mission trip with my church to Nairobi, Kenya, where I grew out of my comfort level and tried different foods. At Kenya, my team and I constructed water tanks at 2 different schools. The goal was to provide clean and running water to the children and the teachers so that they can focus more on their education rather than scavenging for water during the day. Towards the end of this mission trip, our team leader decided to go to an exotic meat buffet called Carnivore. This buffet was not like any other. As I first entered the restaurant, there was a very long path decorated with torches, statues of animals, and traditional Kenyan decor. The host greeted us and led us to our table. On the way towards our seats, there was a giant pit of fire roaring in the middle of the restaurant, where the chefs cooked all kinds of meats. I could not distinguish what they were, however what was strange was that they were all pierced with swords that lay on the grill. This was a method of cooking I have never seen before, and it really amazed me. The exotic sense of meats made my mouth salivate because our whole group did not eat anything for this event. Moments after we were seated, I noticed that there was no menu to this restaurant. I was puzzled until workers finally came to our tables with swords that carried large pieces of meats. They went through one by one as they cut slabs of meat onto our plates from the swords. This process continued as they offered us different kinds of pork and beef. The quality of the meat was amazing as the slices of brisket and the sausages of pork melted in my mouth. Moments later, a server came by with another sword with meat and asked me if I wanted to try zebra. This was a moment where I finally decided to break my old habits and try new things. I reluctantly accepted along with the other exotic meats that they offered. To start off the plate of exotic entrees, I tried zebra for the first time in my life. I never thought that I would ever try an animal that I would see in a zoo, but nevertheless, a nice slab cooked medium rare was laying in front of me to eat. As I cut into the meat with my knife, I could see the residual juices leaking out, releasing scents similar to that of a steak. I took my first bite and it immediately reminded me of a very lean cut of beef. The flavor was very light for a red meat, but it was very delicious and seasoned beautifully. It reminded me of a ribeye steak cooked medium rare, just without the fat. After trying zebra for the first time, I immediately just realized that I managed to step out of my comfort zone and enjoy myself at the same time. This made me less reluctant and more excited to try the following entrees as the servers continued to come and serve more exotic meats. The next entree that the server came with was crocodile. I immediately assumed that crocodile would taste awful and have a very rough consistency after thinking of the actual animal. However, after the server sliced a slab of meat off the sword and onto my plate, I thought otherwise. A piece of crocodile meat had a yellow-green tint crisp on the outer layer of the skin and smelled of chicken. As I sliced into the meat, it felt flaky like that of a nicely cooked fish. It tasted just like how it smelled, like chicken. I thoroughly enjoyed it and ate every last bite of it and waited even more eager to try another entree. It seemed like after every exotic entree, my comfort zone slowly grew. The next entree that followed after the crocodile was ostrich. After eating the zebra and the crocodile, I was more than willing to try the ostrich. After the server sliced off a piece of ostrich meat onto my plate, I noticed that it looked similar to zebra meat and steak, which is primarily because they are all red meats. After consuming a piece of meat, it tasted a lot more rich and gamey than zebra or any other steak that I have tried before. Overall, the taste reminded me of a cut of steak, leaning more to a porterhouse cut. The last entree that the servers came with was finally one that I was very reluctant to try. Although I was very open to try new kinds of foods at this point, I was just not ready for the next entree. It was ox testicles. The servers came by, but instead of using a sword, there were only meatball-looking foods on a plate that they sliced into small pieces. The ox testicles were a dull gray color, slimy, and just plain out looked very unappetizing. However, I realized that I came this far and that I probably never have an opportunity to try this ever again, so I decided to eat it. I took my first bite, and it tasted just how it looked. It was the only entree that I did not enjoy at the restaurant. The consistency was gooey, thick, and slimy, and tasted of liver. My gag reflex immediately reacted, however I managed to take it down. It wasn't the greatest experience of my life, but I am proud to say that I have tried ox testicles. Overall, this trip to Carnivore introduced me to a whole new world of different foods. Not only did it allow me to appreciate exotic Kenyan meats, but it also stretched out my comfort zone that I have contained myself in since I was young. I am much more eager and excited to try foods from all over the world. In the future, when I have a steady job and family, I wish to travel all over the world to explore delicacies from different cultures. I hope that others will learn from my experience and benefit as well from stepping out of whatever their comfort zone is.